Why?
We generally accept it.
May I say something?
Okay? Yeah, of course.
Is this the Aristotle?
No, it's not Aristotle.
Must be a
This is the
mover.
brother, actually, who's come at the right time, subhanAllah, right?
How you doing?
We're just going through the argument of contingency. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Sheikh.
Yeah, he is the same man who was saying I was arrogant, but
No, this brother, he's been coming for...
خلاص we'll come and talk. I will send it. What do you want? You want me to send it? Fine, no problem. Inshallah.
Brother, this brother, I don't know your name, sorry. Robin. Abbas Hijab. Muhammad Hijab, mashallah. This brother's been coming here for over 55 years.
Really?
Mashallah, right? He's seen it all.
You don't really
He's a
look like
veteran.
you're
He's a
55 years
veteran.
old. I thought you were 45.
No. I've just touched on the copying, mashallah, a lot of your arguments on the rationality of accepting the deductive argument of contingency. But what I'm saying to the brother is that this is the only reasonable conclusion that way you can arrive at. Can you maybe allude a little bit more, because brothers are very knowledgeable as well. I'd like to.
Absolutely. I mean, okay. There's some cameras already there. So basically, Robin, it's a very straightforward postulation. You could actually make the argument. I personally, when I make the argument, I differentiate between what is referred to as contingency and what is referred to as dependency or dependence. Yeah? You can make the argument in either way. For example, if we were talking about dependence, I define dependence as when something requires or relies on something else for its existence. So dependence is when something relies on something else for its existence. And the postulation is as follows: that there cannot be a world with only dependent things depending upon dependent things. Now I want you to think about that and tell me what you think.
I would just say everything depends on something,
Right.
with no exception.
Right. So you've got two options: either that that there can be a world where dependent things can depend upon dependent things ad infinitum, or that is impossible. That dependent things cannot depend upon dependent things ad infinitum. It's dichotomy. So either dependent things can depend upon dependent things ad infinitum, or dependent things cannot depend upon dependent things ad infinitum. Which one do you think makes more sense?
I don't know.
No. All right. So what I would say is this: a dependent thing, as I've said, is something which relies on something else for its existence. Right? Now what I'm saying is, if things depended upon things, and that went on forever, then there would have to be something outside of that set of dependent things to bring rise to those dependent things and to keep those dependent things in existence.
Obviously, if everything is not dependent, there must be something, an alternative method, mustn't there?
Right, and that would be an independent thing.
Might be, might not be.
If that's, well, think about it, right? What is the opposite of a dependent thing?
Independence.
Right,
free.
independent thing. So what I'm saying is, if you have a world with only dependent things, depending upon dependent things, in order to make sense of such world, what you need outside of that set of dependent things is something which is independent. Otherwise, you can't explain why there are things which are depending on things which are dependent ad infinitum.
But that's something I can't explain.
All right, so you've got two options, right? Everything in existence is dependent, right? If everything in existence is dependent, my bottle is dependent, my jacket is dependent, I am dependent, you are dependent. Dependent, once again, is something which relies upon something else in order to exist. That tree over there is dependent because it relies on photosynthesis, the sun, the rain, and so on, right? Everything that is in existence is dependent. And if it was the case that everything that was depended upon something which is dependent, ad infinitum, then you've got two options. Either the set of dependent things is itself dependent on itself, or that there is something independent outside of that set which brings rise and that set is dependent upon.
Might be.
I think we've also agreed to that point, which was a simple explanation of, if we have an infinite series of dependent things, can there be rise to this universe as we see it today, coming into existence? Because I said to you, if we move back infinitely for an infinite number of steps, you can't traverse an infinite number of steps to get to a particular point, which is this universe.
This is good, but this is not the argument I'm making.
Right, okay.
Right? This is a causation argument. This is infinite regress. I say infinite regress is fine, even if you say there's an infinite amount of dependent things. My question is this. If the world, the universe or the multiverse or whatever you want to call it, if the world has things in it which are dependent, my question is, for example, this camera that you've got on your neck, this camera is dependent upon charge. That charge is dependent upon power. That power is dependent upon a power plant. Can this continue on forever, or must there be something which is independent, which everything else depends upon, and it depends upon nothing?
Don't know.
Okay. Well, here's what I'll say to you, right? If we say, it's option one. Option one is we say there can be a world where everything is dependent upon something else which is dependent. But if you say that there can be a world where things are dependent upon other things which are dependent,
Which is what you said earlier.
if you say that, then you're saying that the world is independent. If you say that there can't be a world where things that are dependent upon things are dependent upon things which are dependent ad infinitum, then what we're saying is we need something outside of that set of dependent things which is independent. In both scenarios, you cannot escape the independent entity. Do you see what I'm saying? You have to admit that there is an independent thing which everything in existence depends upon, and which itself depends upon nothing. Otherwise, you cannot explain the existence of anything.
Okay. I don't know.
But is it reasonable, if we're saying about knowing and not knowing, the issue really is what the brother has explained to you, is that a rational and a reasonable conclusion to arrive at, rather than an alternative which is I don't know. So for example, if this argument was applied to anything else in life, the question that you need to ask yourself honestly, would I have accepted that argument? And the chances are, most of us would have accepted the argument based upon the evidence that the brothers provided. When it comes to religion though, and I mean it very respectfully, I don't want to be disrespectful, that we try to look for this I don't know scenario, which in reality we would never attribute to any other argument if it was this strong. So what I would humbly say to you is that if it's a reasonable argument, I think one should say, you know what, that sounds reasonable. It sounds fair. It sounds actually stronger than anything else that I've ever heard. And on that basis, inshallah, we can, God willing, we can move forward to what this independent entity or thing is. Because it's very, 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 very important for us to, all of us, to when we hear something that's incredibly strong and powerful, that we sort of take a notice. You know what? I've never heard that before. Maybe put that way, and it seems very reasonable to accept that.
Okay, Robin, let me ask you a question. Yeah.
Okay. I must go shortly because I haven't taken any further in the last 20 minutes.
He's writing a book about Speaker's Corner.
All right. Before you go, let me ask you a simple question. Can something come from nothing?
I don't know. It depends. You'd have to give me an example of something.
No.
So for instance, if can a pound coin appear on the ground from nothing? I would say no.
Fine. That's even better. Okay. But the ground is not nothing, by the way. So even if the universe is not nothing, so if you said a pound coin coming into the ground, it wouldn't be a perfect example.
Okay.
Nothing is the absence of something. Can something come from the absence of something?
I don't know.
Can 0 plus 0 ever equal 1?
Say again?
What's 0 plus 0?
0.
0. Okay. If I said 0 plus 0 equals 1, what do you say about that?
I would not accept that that's correct.
Okay, why not?
Because by the law of mathematics, 0 plus 0 equals 0.
Why?
Because 1 plus 1 equals 2.
Okay, but 0, what is 0?
In what context?
What is 0 not?
0 is a number?
Nothing.
Okay, 0 is not a natural number, it's not a negative number, right? It's not minus 1, and it's not 1 and above, right?
In mathematical terms, yes.
So, all right, so if we have 0 and 0, you're not going to get 1, right?
Correct.
Okay. Likewise, if you have nothingness, in the cosmos, or even outside of such a thing as a cosmos, you don't expect to get something from that nothing, do you?
It would depend on a concrete example.
Well, let me give you a little example. You wake up in the morning.
Mathematically?
Yes, like mathematics. 0 plus 0.
Zero.
Yeah, so same thing. I'm saying that apply this to the universe. Apply this to something coming from nothing. If 0 plus 0 equals 0, then nothing plus nothing equals what?
In what?
Let me ask you.
Okay.
What realms of definition?
Let me tell you. Right, let me break it down.
down.
Absence of something plus the absence of something equals what?
What's the something?
The absence of something.
No, what's
anything?
A
camera, anything.
Okay, use a different word other than
Brother Muhammad Hijab, can I just a very layman's example?
Yeah.
Good. Now we're getting down to it.
Because I'm a layperson, I'm not like the brother here.
No.
Let me ask you. Yes. You wake up in the morning, you find the camera around your neck. Would you ever?
That was a good night last night.
Would you ever attribute the camera coming there from nothing? Ever? Would that even conceivably enter an option in your mind?
Not unless I put it or somebody else
right.
did.
Okay. So it wouldn't, would it? Right. Now, how likely, therefore, is it that this universe that you see around you somehow just came into existence from nothing?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
No, but that's my point. My point is that the camera you would never attribute to I don't know. The camera you would attribute to a cause of some kind. I must have forgotten, I must have put it on and slept, somebody's done this, somebody's playing a joke. But you would never say, I don't know whether it simply got here from nothing. That would not even be an option.
Could be a dream. Could have been his mind.
But the point...
There could be circumstances where you just don't know how it happened.
Yes, no, but you would still attribute some cause to it happening. You would never attribute no cause.
At first, but you could then come to the conclusion that you couldn't think of an answer.
So my point to you is this. My point to you is this. When we live within a certain reality, okay, that we see something and we automatically attribute without even thinking. A 3-year-old sees a ball flying from behind itself. Nobody's taught the 1-year-old or the 6-month-old baby about this coming from something, right?
I'm going to go and pray.
But what does the baby do? The baby.
Yeah, I think you're doing it right.
the baby turns around to see where did the ball come from. Yes, because it has an innate understanding that things don't just pop up from anything, right? Now, what we're saying to you, brother, is this: rather than
you're giving the baby a lot more intelligence than it actually has.
Rather than trying to, I would say, escape the rational conclusion of, yes, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. Rather than just say, I don't know, it could have happened, I don't know. Just as you would not attribute an uncaused effect to your camera being around your neck, don't attribute an uncaused effect to the entire universe.
Just changing the subject very, very slightly, because my camera's seizing up by not being used. I would be very interested another time to hear you talk to somebody who is a passionate believer in some other religion.
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
We speak to them all the time.
Okay, I would be interested to hear that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And to hear the
absolutely. So we have a channel called EF Dawah, DAWAH. We're on YouTube as well. We have many hundreds of debates that are online. Probably 7, maybe nearly 1,000, I think, debates that we have online, whether they're streams or they're here. And we've had discussions with physicists, we've had discussions with atheists, with agnostics, with EF,
and then
DAWAH, Dawah.
Okay.
EF Dawah. And we've got, like I say, hundreds and hundreds. But what I would say to you, brother, is this: life is very short. Yeah? You've been coming here for 55 years. When you think back, you think, my God, where did those 55 years go?
Oh, yes.
Yes?
Yes.
And death is just, for all of us, tomorrow. Today, maybe. Tonight, on the way home. And we say to our brothers and sisters in humanity, that Allah says that this is the reality after you die. So worship me, follow my guidance, and you will be successful. And so we are calling our brothers and sisters in humanity through logic, through reason, I believe through evidence as well, to come to Islam, to accept Islam. So I would really humbly invite you as well that, you know, study Islam.
Certainly have a think about what you said. Just tell me your name again.
Abbas.
Okay.
We've got free literature here. This particular translation is a very good translation. Brother Ali, is it okay if I take a Quran? Yeah. This is a very, very good translation. The English is actually...
don't drop it.
Yeah, so the English is actually very...
You'll never go to heaven if you drop it.
No, it doesn't work like that. An accident is an accident.
Have you got some pamphlets?
We have got
Something's
pamphlets.
much smaller.
No, but please take that as well.
I'll be put off by the size of this.
Ali, which is a good one for the brother to take? Which one? As a sort of agnostic atheist type. This one?
Okay, that's more like something I'll read on the train going home.
You can get this one free online as well. But when you come next time, please do, if you've got a bag or a rucksack, do take it, because we believe that this is the last revelation to humankind.
Okay, I'll read these first.
Please, yeah? And if you want to continue the conversation like off camera or whatever, have a coffee or whatever, I'd be more than happy to have that with you. I live in Ilford, but I work in this area, so I can meet you sort of anywhere.
Thank you very much, Sebastian.
Yeah?
I've just seen the sunlight on this.
No problem.
Here.
No problem. That's a good angle, actually. Yes, I agree.
See, you are a photographer.
Yeah, no, I can see the light. That's a beautiful light there.
Thank you.
Nice to speak to you.
But there is